मेरा नाम मासूमा सैयद है और मैं एक आर्टिस्ट हूँ, विजुअल आर्टिस्ट। आई एम एन NCA ग्रेजुएट from 90s, early 90s, and I've been teaching since then, art, teaching art, and mostly studio courses. And then with time, I found myself interested in theory also, in subjects which are related with the studio. I was not only producing art, but also, and not only teaching art, but also thinking about the very nature of making it and the purpose of making it. That has been always very, very important for me. So I can say it's been very personalized journey, and how I was experiencing the world, inside and outside, and then translating that into different materials and mediums, whether I was painting or making objects and sculptures with my hand. When I say hand, so I would stress on that, this act of crafting with hand, because it somehow satisfied my purpose and intention also, what I was trying to know and understand. So I started from painting, and I enjoyed making three-dimensional structures with different materials, which were very unconventional, and unconventional in the sense they were not with traditional art materials. Like, instead of using paper, I was using metal sheets, and instead of using oil colors, I was using nail polishes and lipsticks and acids. I mean, this is how my base was established. And the need of coming to these materials was very spontaneous and intuitive. So, and this took me to different ideas and concepts about the material, about the surfaces, and also the concepts about life and its details. There was always the element of fragility, weightlessness, and the scale has been quite small. Not always, but most of the time. Well, that was not intentional, but somehow I ended up with small scale. That's why my practice of jewelry making, somehow it started as a wearable jewelry making process. But now with time, I look at it in different way, as the whole idea of ornamentation, and the reason or the purpose to adorn oneself, its scale, its color, its material, and so many meanings attached to it. Why it has always been so important in our lives, whether we are man or woman, we all like to wear something all the time. So the smallness comes from there. But otherwise, I think I've been trying to also stretch and expand the use of the material in terms of scale, and according to the feelings and experiences. Like I used hair, human hair, fingernails, dry red chilies. So many natural materials also came to me, and I employed these, which made me communicate the way I wanted to. And during all this time, I was also traveling. I got married. I moved to another country. In my case, it was India. My husband is from India. He's also artist. So we met. We shared many common grounds, and then that also made us move to different other countries in South Asia. I lived in Nepal for some time, and then in Sri Lanka. So, and during all this time, I was teaching, I was making art, and meeting different people from my discipline, and also otherwise also students in all these countries. They are very, very precious for me, because I learned a lot from them. More than teaching, I would say, sharing with them has been great. And the diversity of the region, where India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Bhutan, this really, really was amazing. I mean, of course, they all are SAARC countries. There are different platforms, South Asian platforms, and opportunities were created to meet each other through art. And various collaborations happen despite all the difficulties of visas and diplomatic and bureaucratic hurdles. But I think this this region taught me that that there is so much truth lie in the very details of the people, how they live in the everyday life, and their language, their food, their history, their concerns, and their behavior. And for artists, this is very important to know about that, to learn and to share. So I think student body made it easier for me, coming from very diverse background. I can give you examples, like in Nepal. That was the shortest time I spent there, almost 11 months of teaching. I was going there back and forth and traveling there, but the time period I was teaching, I met these students from coming from outside Kathmandu Valley. It's a small valley, and not so many art schools there. So there is a Kathmandu University where I was teaching, and my students were coming from the outskirts, the suburbs, from the mountains, by buses, by walk and cycling, and they were very independent in their life. Like they were cooking for themselves and cooking for their siblings, and coming to art school. Most of them used to come very late because of the distance, and also lots of other hurdles. Like that was the time when there was monarchy. Still, there was king there, and there were lots of strikes happening in Nepal, and there were power cuts, no fuel. So all these hurdles were for them, which was for me it was a different experience compared to Pakistan, where I was teaching in Beacon House National University, where I left and went to Kathmandu to teach. So it was just quite a 180-degree shift, because it was a private university and there was a certain class of students coming there, and I was teaching there. And there it was public university, and the campus was recently shifted in a new building, which was also not fully furnished, very limited resources. So, and these students, they were so keen and enthusiastic about the idea. Okay, somebody has come from their neighboring country to teach art, and they were very open to this idea. And I was also very curious to know how they make art, what they think of it, when they are facing lots of everyday basic issues of, transportation, and so many strikes that university used to get shut down for months, and power cuts. So that was an amazing experience with these students, and meeting students from other universities as well, where I was renting a place. There were students who were doing masters in other discipline, and discussion about the politics and society of Nepal. These are the details which I've been carrying, and now when I look back, so I can have a better. I can place it in a better way. I can analyze it. And then, of course, experience of going to Sri Lanka, and in Sri Lanka teaching there in a very different environment. And then again, all the turmoil, because this region has been, unfortunately, has gone under a lot of all kind of crises. Political crisis, and after colonization, what happened, it's long lasting effects, and how these countries are managing inside their space, and how they react to the policies and the changes. So I think living in these countries, and in the discipline of art, teaching and working, was beautiful also, because at least there's a refuge, there's a respite from the harshness and the aggression of the society, and the weariness because of the economic fall. So coming to Sri Lanka, I think it gave me also opportunity to travel to those areas where it was earlier it was not easy. I came to know about their shift and their civil war also, that how South and North had a very sharp divide, and what was going on, what were the ethnic and linguistic clashes. So, and students from a particular part, not from the main city, Colombo, but also there's a place called Batticaloa, which is on the eastern coast of Sri Lanka. So I think my exposure and my interaction with the faculty and students there was amazing. That taught me a lot, how people manage, and how they are resilient, how art makes them so resilient, students, they still have dreams and desires to express. I think crossing the borders in this region has been far more difficult than traveling anywhere else in the world. This is something which my friend used to make fun of me, that people are going to areas, developed countries, and you are going to why you are always in the countries where there is either tsunami or some earthquake, some floods or drought, or politically chaotic. And this also shaped my work, because I always never enjoyed to be in a very safe environment or predictable environment where we don't get the chance to express the way we want. So coming to this process of making art and knowing through art our world, and sharing and exchanging views and communicating to each other, really made it very beautiful and very rewarding in many ways, because I think and travel is a leisure for artists, because it really opens up the whole world to artists to experience. There is one thing which I would like to add here in order to conclude it, that just very recently I'm curating a show right now, which is on the post-colonial practices of art practices in South Asia. So I'm working with different artists from South Asian countries, and there is one artist who's from Kabul, and he left Kabul when the new regime came, and now he's in Zurich. So the problems and his very harsh condition in which he's sustaining, and as a refugee there in the camp, and he's a student. He just graduated from Beacon House National University, and a very, 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 very bright artist, and a very intense artist. He said something which really made me feel so happy that he is part of the group. And that was that how institutions, and in this case art institutions, if they could also realize that the purpose of art is not making heroes, because once you are out of the institution, when you are done with your studies, then once you are out, then there is nothing heroic about life. Life has its own course. No matter how you want to control it, design it, or engineer it, but it has its own course. And I think if you don't design it that way, then I think then there is no difference between art and life also. Then they grow together, then they enrich together. So art is not something which needs to be placed on a pedestal as something very supreme. Yes, it is very sublime, but that subliminal, the aspect, is it shouldn't move very far from you. It has to stay with you. This is how we grow. This is how societies grow. This is how we bring new values to it, and a very strong values to it. This is how we make the norm of the time. And yeah, thank you so much.